Hi everyone, the Mature Simmer here. Welcome to the lesson on farm management. In this lesson you will learn how to determine what you're going to work on for the day. Let's begin. So you're here on your first farm. If you've gone through the earlier lessons, you've completed all the work that was available to you per the original setup as new farmer when you began your first farm. So you may begin to wonder, what do I do now? How do I know what to do next? Well, there are several strategies you can utilize, and I will go over some suggestions. Use what makes sense to you. The most important thing you will use in determining what to do next on your farm is your map and the filters that are provided. So I'm going to turn off needs plowing and needs lime here, just because they take up the entire map at this point and just gets confusing to really see what's happening. If you remember, the fields you own will show up with a blue color in the numbers, as opposed to the white numbers that show that they belong to someone else. We can see here in our soil composition that really the only thing we're taking a look at is fertilized. Everything else is turned off on your first farm at this point. So we can see none of our fields are fertilized. But does it make sense to fertilize them? So if you change the filters, you begin to determine a little more clearly what you should be doing, because you can see the growth stage of each field. So field 40 was cultivated. It's the field we worked on in the cultivate lesson. Field 41 is now growing. It's the field in the sowing lesson that you planted with whatever crop you chose. In my case, I've planted barley. And field 38 shows up as harvested. It may be a little confusing to determine if it's plowed or harvested. If you recall with the map lesson, if you click on a color, you can turn it on and off, and you can then verify that what you're seeing is what you think you're seeing, if colors are close, or if you're having difficulty discerning. So we can see that field is harvested. So between your filters, the growth, and the soil composition, you can make a determination of what you want to work on next. Keep in mind, the growth filters are in sequence of how things would typically be done. You would deal with cultivation or plowing, then you would plant seeds, which leads to growth. Once your crops are done growing, they're ready to harvest, then you would harvest them. Certain crop types, again, deal with some of the additional growth types that are here, and we'll cover those in the appropriate lesson. Certainly, as your farm gets more complex, you'll have more choices of what to do during a given day. But on your first farm, we'll just stick with what's available to you. So what you want to decide really is what is available on each field. So a cultivated field, which is 40, the next thing we do with that field is we plant or we sow. So you could go ahead and plant something on field 40. A field that is growing does require you to wait, but you can fertilize that field. A field that is harvested now needs to cycle through to the beginning, which means it needs to be cultivated. We've already walked through how to cultivate, so you can certainly go through that. If you need a refresher, you can go back to the lesson on cultivating. In this case, the choice I am going to make is that I am going to fertilize my barley. There is one other thing you need to consider when you are deciding what to do, and that is something known as, has the field changed state? What that means is, have you recently done something to the field that caused it to change in a growth stage or in the state on the field? This can become complex in the game, but for now, we'll keep it simple. If the color in the growth state has changed, your field state has changed. So with that, that concludes this lesson. I'll see you next time.